Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I just realized that it's been a very, very, very long time since I've worn lip gloss, and I truly feel like my lips look like glass. So we're gonna add a little bit of color here. Hey everybody. I'm Ash Johns. I am, well, maybe you already know who I am, maybe you don't. I'm going to introduce myself every single day because I realize there's still more people out in the world who don't know me. In fact, the majority of people in the world don't know me. And whatever way you have found me to be here on day 2 of the December daily drops, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here because even if you weren't here, I would still be here. So it's cool that you are here. So I'm not here alone. And if you're watching this on replay, welcome. I am grateful that you found me. So I am a couple things, but I want to be known more about who I actually am, less about the titles, less about, some people know me as an ancestral healer. Some people know me as a coach. Some people I've operated as a consultant in their lives and their business. Some people I have been a spiritual advisor to them. Some people I've just been a really wise and great girlfriend who's a couple steps ahead of the process or the path. And so we sit together and we commune and we talk about the mysteries of life and spirituality and evolution and stepping into your power, your freedom, your ease, and creating a life that you have not ever seen in your family, in your community, in the groups of people you identify with, that you are the one who's called to do it. You are the one who agreed to do it. You are the one who dreamed to do it. And here you are on a path of creation, essentially. So that's what I do. I mentor, I guide, I inspire, I strategize, I hold space, and I have a knack for seeing things that most people don't see about themselves or even in the world. That is the tripwire or the trapdoor or the magical portal to transforming your way of existing, your way of seeing. And I actually deeply mean that. And I have the evidence that I do work that way and that happens in people's lives. That's enough about me. I really want to drop into what I want to talk about today. Because if you don't know, this whole December daily drops is an effort for me, and I'm extending it to you, to step into areas of our lives where fear has taken us hostage, has gotten a stronghold on us, and we didn't even realize it. So to give you a little bit more about me, and we're going to slide right into the topic because this is the perfect transition. I started my successful multi-six-figure business of guiding, of mentoring, of doing exactly what I'm doing right now, whether it's open on the internet like this, whether it's one-to-one with clients, whether it's in a course, whether it's in a sisterhood mastermind for a couple months. I got into this work simply by being myself, right? I did not take a course on how to become a coach. I got certified as a coach. I have sat with many elders and got initiated in various things. I have been a practitioner and initiate of very different, different spiritual practices. Yes, that's true. But at the end of the day, I was not like one of those people clicking, being like, I want to be a multi-million-dollar coach like that. I've never done any of those things. But my whole life, I've had these gifts. My whole life, I've had these desires. And my whole life, I was willing to step into my fears and do what no one in my family has done, and do things that I only read in a book, or do things that only came from an inspirational video. I'd found a way to apply those things in my own life, and that led me to quitting a successful career and starting a business. It led me from leaving my home state and where everyone in my family is from, and traveling the world and living as an expat immigrant. It led me into various different modalities of healing. It's led me into new business opportunities. It's led me into dating differently. It's led me into falling in love. It's led me into many different things in my life. But what it has done for me the most, and when I say it is practicing and living by this effort of stepping into fear. It has brought me back to who the fuck I am and who I've always been, at a bigger level and a greater level and a more confident level, right? And so sometimes, because we've experienced success or we're known as a certain thing, we think that we've figured it out, or we appear like we figured it out. And sometimes we have to come back to the basics, which is what I'm doing right now, going live on the internet, right? In a platform that I don't ever show up in, after having gone dark online for a couple of months. I haven't been active on the internet the way that I used to be, on social media, particularly Instagram and Facebook. I just, really wasn't showing up. And now Spirit is like, you've rested, you've gotten some clarity, you're ready for the next level. And there are people out here who need to hear from you, who are looking for someone who can identify, who they can resonate with, who speaks the language that they most need. So here I am facing my fear as a model, as an example, and as an invitation for you to step deeper into yours. So before we even get started in what I'm talking about today, that's my preamble. That is the reason why we have 31 days, right, of daily December drops, where each day, the month of December, I'm showing up live here on YouTube. I'm posting a piece of content on TikTok, 2 platforms that I have never showed up on regularly, just to switch things up, just to face my fear of like, oh my God, YouTube is the wild, wild west. And TikTok is absolutely berserk to me. Like, I don't get it. I am a full millennial. I know about Facebook and I know about Instagram. You know what I mean? So that's what's going on. But what I want to talk about today is actually piggybacking off of what I taught yesterday, right? And it's something that I actually didn't teach in the live. I taught it in the masterclass Calibrate. So I will tell you more about Calibrate in just a moment. But yesterday, I taught about Calibrate live, and I was chatting with the ladies who are inside of my Elevate Mastermind about the experience of Calibrate. And I was like, oh my goodness, I totally didn't teach this part. And so I need to figure out where I can put it. And I was like, you know what? I'll just do it for free. I'll do it for free in tomorrow's live for December daily drops. So that's what we're doing. So if you're like, well, where's part 1 of this? It's inside of Calibrate. I'll make sure you have the link if this resonates with you. But really, just listen to what I'm talking about today, right now, because it has what you need. Like, it has what you need. So as I was sitting with the ladies in Elevate, and I was recapping what I had already covered inside of Calibrate, Elevate, Calibrate, whatever these words, right? I was saying how we were like reflecting over our 9 months together. And one of the ladies was saying, like, she's successful in a tech government position. She comes from a high achieving family. She has been creating the life that she wants to live, the level of freedom, the level of femininity, the level of like less control, more creativity, right? And so that's what her journey was all about. And so as we were reflecting, because we're coming to an end in the mastermind, we were reflecting on all the magical things that's happened. And so I believe that there is a very different experience when you're inside of like a coaching container that markets to you a specific outcome. You're going to, increase your visibility by using social media or by creating a podcast, right? Like, that's a very specific thing. I'm going to coach you into mindset to take action, to have a podcast, and the podcast will be promoted, and that's what increases your visibility. Or I'm going to coach you to get over your visibility fears, to trust your voice. So you write 31 days of content and you increase your visibility, right? Like, it's very measurable. It's very specific. And the visibility is going to make you see more people with a clearer message. So they will buy things and you will increase your business by $10,000 each month, right? Like, it's and it fits into this little box. But what I've noticed is that most times people are disappointed in that type of coaching because it doesn't work for them or it isn't sustainable. They have to keep buying something because they outsource the accountability, they outsource the belief, they outsource the motivation from that coach, right? Or they're just a more feminine, creative, flowy person that this staccato, I do that, right, doesn't really work for them because it's not your real nature, even though we've been programmed to fit into that kind of world, even though we've been programmed and saw the evidence of achieving certain things through that model. It's not really your innate way of being. It's only an aspect of it, right? And I know this about myself. I'm very balanced in both the creativity, the spirituality, the flow, the insight, the intuitive hit to see what spirit is talking about. But I'm also very good at what's the strategy, what's the structure, what's the long-term vision here, I move between these spaces very easily, which is why my clients work with me. They're either in the flow and need the structure, they have too much structure and they're coming into the flow, or they have a combination of the two and they haven't learned how to work together. And that is what's making their life less balanced. And when things are out of balance, you can't produce and create with ease. You can't show up with ease. And so this particular client comes from more of the structured achievement. I have the career and needed to come over to the other. And so even though I've been doing this work for over 10 years now, and I know it seems like everyone says that, but I actually have, I always tear up. Like I always start crying. I always get very emotional because it's almost like I'm hearing the results, right, of this work for the first time every time I see something or I experience a transformation in another client and another woman and another friend and another sister and another peer. Like every single time, your unique experience of transformation, it guts me, right? So here I am like crying and I'm like, see, like I told you guys. And they were like, it's like magic. This has been the most easeful transformation coaching container I've ever been in. It wasn't about force. It wasn't about efforting. It wasn't about accountability. It wasn't about the strategy where I'm in my logic all the time because they already know how to thrive. They already know how to do the stereotypical time management, make time, have boundaries. Like we've already read those books and yet the results are not sustainable. So why? And so she's like, wow, I didn't realize all this was happening until I realized all of this was happening. And so we're all like crying and I'm like, it gets me every time, you guys. Like, I don't know about you, but I grew up watching America's Funniest Home Videos. And so every time someone slips and falls, I always laugh, like as long as they're okay. Like I still always laugh. The videos where on the social media where someone is always like reuniting with a family member, like the father comes from like the war or like army and surprises their kid at school, or like mothers and children have been estranged and they come together, like those kind of videos always make me cry. Like I just burst birthing stories, lay me out. These are experiences that even though it's the same thing happening, the person's unique journey, there is nothing that can ever replace that feeling for me. That's what lights me up. That's why I do this work. This is who I am, because being fully expressed in who I am, and that guides and helps other people in your journey of creation, your journey of transformation, and it's done easefully and magically and beautiful. Like chef's kiss, thank you, God. Like, thank you, God. Thank you, spirits, So she's sharing this. We're all in tears. And she's like, it was actually really easeful. This was not a step 1, step 2, step 3 type shit. This was, I had to live it. My identity started to change. It's these subtle little shifts, energetic being. It's not just mindset where we're running things over our minds to think differently. Like your entire perspective starts to evolve into what's rightful for you, not what's rightful for me. I'm already walking my path in life, right? But what is your path? Right? So she's talking about this. We're tearing up. I'm like getting all giddy and juicy as I always do. And it led me to just really realize and harness and to say again that we smart women have a call right now to start moving away from the effort and the doing and the logic and start balancing ourselves with our heart, our intuition, our joy, our desire, our faith, our belief, like all of those intangible things that happen in our minds, in our bodies, in our psyche, in our energy field. If we can start to master that as much as we've been taught and guided and trained to master, right? The mental, the logic, we will be the force that we have always been meant to be. We will be a force to be reckoned with. We will see things starting to shift in our lives and in this world so much quicker and so much easeful because we're reclaiming an aspect of ourselves that we've been like almost like trained out of, I love the comments. Thank you. Yes. So I'm like, this is exciting. And so it reminded me of the piece inside of Calibrate that I did not teach. So we're going to teach it now. In the tagline for Calibrate, I said that it is a necessary process to master navigating contrast so that you have more magnetism for the things that you want in your life, right? And in the teaching of Calibrate yesterday, right, which I will put the link if you guys want to purchase this, but in the teaching, I was really talking about and guiding people to do the thing that I do at the beginning of every single client call, whether it's private client, group client, mastermind client, like even a consultation, you don't become a client. This is the first thing I do. And that's what's in that first video, but I'm going to tell you guys right now. The first thing I'm doing is seeing, are you operating from the expansive desire of, I really want this, I really want this, I really want this. And this is what I see on the horizon for me. And this is what I desire. And I can't even ignore it. And I've tried to talk myself out of it, but this is what I need, Ash. And like, I'm called to this, but I'm just afraid and I need someone to hold my hand and I don't know how to do it. And no one's done it in my life. And so can you be my person, right? Are you that? Or are you the person who's like, I don't want this. I don't want this. I'm over this. I'm exhausted from this and I'm frustrated with this. And sure, I have the good job and sure, I have this, but this isn't the life that I really want. And I can't say this out in the world. And I don't even know how I can create what I want. I think I know what I want, but I don't even know how because of this, and this, right? So are you living from the desire and the expansion and you want guidance? Or are you living from the like frustration and the fear and the lack and like, I'm just tired of this and you're so tired of this that you can't even imagine it being different. Like you can't really say, I want to quit my corporate successful job and now become an entrepreneur. I want to sell my house and just travel for a year. I want to open my heart to men and start dating again. I want to learn the real estate. Like, I don't know what it might be, but you can't quite open up to the desire. So I'm trying to figure out which one of these very general, states of being you're coming from, because that's going to tell me what fears you have, what the true desire is, and what aspect or aspects of yourself is sabotaging, is blocking, and is preventing you from believing that it's possible and going for it. And those aspects of self are personal, societal, cultural, and you betcha, ancestral. Some of that shit isn't even yours, but you're carrying it, you're believing it, even though logically we're saying we're empowered women. Our energetics, our beliefs, our actions, the way of existing is showing us that we don't feel as empowered in the growth area, in the next level, in the expansiveness of who we get to keep becoming, right? So that's what day one is all about unpacking for you, FYI, just a little overview. But what I did not talk about is that this next level, the fears that come up for next level requires us to show up completely differently. And we have to learn things that we have not been taught, but that are lying dormant in us. And that is mastering contrast, right? When you can identify the contrast of what's happening in your life and you can see the polarity, the duality, the black and white, the I don't want this, but I want this. I want this, but I believe it's going to require what I don't want. Like when you can map all that out, now you can start to attune yourself to what you truly want and you become more powerful and more clear with way less effort, like way less effort. That is navigating the contrast. The thing is, especially if we've already achieved something in our lives, and let me know, those of you who are live, if this is resonating, like if you have achieved, and even if you haven't, like whatever your life is, if you're literally like, I'm struggling so much, if you're like, my life is really great and still I'm ready to go to my next level in life, most times we believe unconsciously or subconsciously that moving or evolving our life or going after what we really want is going to require just as much effort or more effort than it took to get where we currently are. And so we're operating from an energetic deficit. We're operating from it. We already have this energetic charge of it's going to be too hard. It was too hard to even maintain. It's too hard to even get here. You mean I have to uproot and face all these other things and to evolve it? And that's actually not true. I've been saying this for a little while now. I'm going to say it now. What got you to where you are is not what it's going to take to get you to where you're going. Especially if what got you to where you are was structure, logic, tenacity, consistency, like all those structural, more quote unquote masculine energetics. You might be similar to me, swinging the pendulum over to the ease, the trust, the believe in, the cultivating, the dreaming, the allowing, the faith, right? Like reactivating all of those things, which by the way, a long, 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 long time ago, all of our elders, mothers, all of our ancestral beings, all of our like elder mentors had these gifts and knew this for themselves. They knew that if you could, I'll never forget, I sat in ceremony with an Lakota tribe chief. He was a chief of the Lakota tribe. And he said this quote that I remember all the time. He said, how did he say it? He said, man's greatest journey is to return to believing to see instead of seeing to believe. And we know this, right? I don't know about you guys, but I grew up watching Sesame Street. I grew up watching Barney's and Friends and reading Rainbow and all the things. And they always said, it is your imagination. It is your dreams, your ability to visualize, to play in the energetics of something that is not yet real in order to birth it into the matter, in order to bring it into form. And guess what, ladies? That is exactly what we are created to do naturally without having to effort in our original, innate, God created birthright power form existence. This is what we do, right? We can't see when the egg is released in the womb. We can't see when we really feel something in our heart, right? We can't. But yet, it comes into form. It starts to manifest externally. It comes out of our body and becomes another human, right? I was thinking about this because a couple years ago, in my last relationship, when I first moved back to the States from Bali, my then partner was, I kept being like, I really want a puppy. I just felt it. I was like, I've always loved dogs, definitely a dog person. And I was like, I really want a dog. And I kept saying it to my girlfriend. I had a best friend at the time. And I was like, hey, I really want a dog. I really want a dog. And like, he's like, oh, that's cool. You want a dog? He's like totally not a dog person. And he ended up getting me a dog. I didn't really ask for it. I just kept saying that I wanted one. I'm going to plug in while I'm talking this story. So I kept saying I wanted a dog. Out of nowhere, we get a dog. Seemingly out of nowhere, we get this dog. So if you don't know, I have a dog named Ziggy. He's a Boston Terrier. He's now 5 years old. And this dog, when I got him, and I'm like, oh, this puppy, and I get to like nurture it, and I get to name it, and I get to like train him and all these things, I get on the phone with my girlfriend and I send her a picture, and she's like, oh my God, you manifested it. Oh my God, you got it. And I was like, did I? Like, I just said I needed to get a dog. Like, I just wanted a dog. I just said it. Like, sure, I said it and I spoke it, which if you come from, a religious background or Christian background, they always talk about speaking what you desire, speaking life, speaking positivity. So yeah, I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it from this logical space. I was just speaking from my heart, from my desire. The desire for the puppy was in my heart. I said it to him. He loved me enough to hear it and was like, I'm going to surprise her with a dog. That's simple. On the internet right now, everyone is like complicating manifestation and complicating the healing. And us as generational pattern breakers have to return to the simplistic thing of just being yourself in your heart. And that journey of opening up to what you truly desire, that you're meant to bring into your lineage, which you're here to restore and be an example of that hasn't been created in a long time, if ever, will start to peel off and remove all of the wounds, all of the fears, all of the trauma in the process, right? And so if you've been around for a while, I used to talk a lot about the ancestral healing, like really getting into the lineage, which is fantastic work, obviously, and it's very effective, obviously. But now we get to evolve that work into the embodiment of you being the pattern breaker, of you being in your rightful role as the woman or the man that you are here to be an example of, to set a new blueprint that other people can be inspired by and learn something about themselves by watching you. That's who you are, right? So we went really wide. I talked about a lot. We're going to come back in and we're going to wrap this up. But this idea that your next level is going to require the same hard work is not true. Your next level of what you're here to create, what you're here to be, what you're here to lead, what you're here to birth, what you're here to steward, what you're here to just enjoy in this lifetime as your right, can be easy, can be simple, because it's your birthright. You are a creational force. It's how God created this human experience. All right. So this is about a shift in identity. This is a shift in your energetic state. It's a shift in your way of being. And in order to do that, you have to calibrate yourself around what you truly want and what could be and the possibilities, no matter how long it takes for them to be birthed or to manifest or to present themselves or to be attracted to you and to present themselves into your life. You have to believe in them. You have to decide, right? That's what you're here to do. Magnetizing what you want requires you to master your awareness of contrast. So if you don't see that your focus, and I'm so guilty about this, is something, I don't even want to say guilty, but it's something I am constantly living, learning, and attuning myself to, is I have to catch myself when I'm looking at what isn't or isn't yet, when I'm focusing on what I dislike, when I'm focusing on what I'm disappointed in, when I'm disappointed in like my lack of like it being the way that I want it to be, or it being less than how big it can be, when I'm focusing on the negative or the fear or the less than more than the potential, the possibility, I know I'm getting off my game. And I can already hear some of you ladies now, considering what's going on in the current narrative as it relates to men and women and relationships and all of that. It's like, this is so good. I can't believe in potential. I want to believe in what is real, what you're presenting right now. And that's fine and dandy. That's logic. That is exactly how men should be looking at us, right? How is she presenting who she is right now? Sure, she's going to keep evolving. But as a man brain, yes, you look at what is actual tangible because they do not have what we have. And that is that we can see what is not physical. We can see the unseen. We can sense and feel the unseen, right? The not yet manifested. Now, that doesn't mean you go out and you just marry and be with people based on potential. Like we can talk a lot about that inside of my upcoming dating program. However, there is something about for you in your life and what you're here to experience, right? Is to open up to the possibilities because it's through the energy of the possibilities that are connected to your desires. That's about your calling, right? And your power and your identity and what you're here to stand for and what you're here to be an example of. That if you cannot hook into that, you won't be able to create it. And if you're not able, if you don't believe that you can create it and you don't start to create it and you're constantly looking for evidence, it will never be birthed. It will never be birthed, right? So Calibrate is the opportunity to teach you. It's a simple little masterclass that tells you exactly how to stop looking at your fears, your doubts, your current situation, your questioning how, like stop that cycle and start moving into your desires, your heart, your possibilities, and what are the parts of you, the aspects of yourself, personally, ancestrally, culturally, that live within you and your psyche that makes it hard for you to live more in the potential and the possibilities of what you want in this upcoming year in your life, right? Moving more into that and away from the negativity or the doubt or the fear or the I don't know how and all of these things. And here's the last thing I'm going to say about that. And this is like massive, massive like industry download here. There's a lot of people. And I would even say, if I look back over some of my earlier work, I was one of these people. I'm so sure. So I don't think it was conscious. It obviously wasn't on purpose. I'm sure if I go back and watch some of the things that I have said, I may have also been one of these people. So, I'm just going to be honest. There's a lot of money to be made and followership that can be created based on keeping you in the cycle of you don't know, let me show you how. But the true freedom, the true expansion, the true ease, the true empowerment for you is to get in alignment, purchase things, get into community, be around people who are saying, I know that you got this. I know that you can figure this out. I know that you're called for this. I know it because I also am. And I'm doing my own version and you're doing your own version. And that's where I live from. Okay. So I feel like that feels complete. I want to see if there's anything else over my notes that I want to talk about. Yeah, this is all about calibrating to what can be, not what is. It's just such a delight. I am really happy to do this. This is day 2. We've got what, 28, 29, 30, 31. So like 29 days. I always suck with math, simple math like that. 29 more days of me going live here on YouTube. If you love this, if you appreciate this, if you want to learn more about me, definitely subscribe, share it, post it on your social media, or I'll just see you back here tomorrow. Thank you for joining me. I'm sending you lots of love wherever you are, and whatever you do today, do it with both courage and compassion. All right. Have a great one. Bye.